Hey guys, welcome to another Ask WitchTips. I'm WitchTips. So I have a couple questions today about the paranormal and ghosts and spirit work and that kind of stuff. So the first question is it's kind of a dual question from Merman Witch and Lunar Possession. And they both asked about spirit guides and spirit guardians. So when talking about spirit guides, it's really important to keep in mind that a lot of entities that are considered spirit guides are from closed practices, closed beliefs, and cultures. So when talking about like spirit, just like when you talk about spirit animals and guardians, that kind of thing, a lot of that is from practices that aren't open. If you don't know what that means, that just means that it's not acceptable for people who are from other practices and cultures to practice those aspects of different cultures, because that culture has specified that it is appropriative to do so. So when we're talking about spirit guardians, we're going to assume, for the purpose of this video, that we're talking about deceased humans, kind of like a dead ancestor who you think could be communicating with you and helping you move forward with your life and make decisions. And if you want to see, if you like suspect that you may have one, that someone who has passed on may be communicating with you, you should always look for little signs. It's often much easier for spirits to communicate through little signs, such as the types of animals that you take notice of in your day-to-day routines, little coincidences. Stop thinking about them as coincidences and start seriously considering if it could be a sign from someone who's passed on. Like, it could be something you joked about, or a symbol that was always coming up between you two, something like that. So you definitely need to be aware of that. You also have to really pay attention to your dreams. It's helpful to keep a dream journal or something of the sort. Just keep track of little signs in your dreams or happenings, because that's often a really easy way for spirits to communicate with you. So our next question is from an anonymous source, and they say, lately in the woods outside my house there have been instances of weird rustling noises. I assumed it was an animal, but it's far too faint to be a person, and it's always exactly in the same spot, always at night, and it doesn't react to lights or yelling like an animal would. It's been happening pretty often for a while now, and the noises always sound exactly the same. Is it something I should be worried about? Well, whenever we're talking about paranormal, supernatural things, I love to play devil's advocate a little bit, and kind of go from a skeptic's perspective first, just so there's a good balance and we're not always jumping to conclusions that everything is a ghost. So, it could be an animal that's buried food, or something like that comes back at night to gather it and then leaves, or is too scared to move when you go and try to coax it out. But it could be I would have to guess just from the information in the question, because I haven't been there, I haven't experienced it or anything. If it's something paranormal, it could be a residual animal haunting. And what that means basically is that an animal spirit has passed on, and for some reason it's drawn back to the spot in question. So it could be somewhere where it gave birth, somewhere where it lived, somewhere where it died, or just someplace it felt safe and remembered. So it could be something like that if we're very sure that it's a paranormal occurrence and nothing explainable in the natural world. Next question. I'm looking into things like necromancy and death magics. What kind of things should I avoid? Is it possibly dangerous to be an empath and do that kind of stuff? And that's from Red Rukus, I think. It's R3D-RUKU5. Sorry if I totally butchered that. So when you're an empath and you're working with other human entities, be it living or not, there's always a risk of draining yourself. So as an empath myself, what I like to do is I like to have a method of self-care already laid out before I start practicing. So it could be anything like a bath or some lotion or just having time for a nap, anything like that to kind of recharge yourself, because it can be extremely draining. I'd also do tons of research beforehand and really know the type of entity you want to deal with, type of person, what their energy is like, and what they could possibly want, their intentions. And doing that kind of stuff can really make all the difference when you're doing necromantic work. That's not a word, but I love that word anyway. And it's definitely like you shouldn't rule out that practice for empaths. Empaths can absolutely do it, and they can absolutely do it with no trouble. There's just a higher risk of getting overpowered by other energies, I would say. So just be careful. Just be sensible about it and know your limits. Last question. What was the first thing you did when you decided to start practicing witchcraft? So when I decided to start practicing, I was in middle school. I'm 22 now, so it was a while ago. And the very first thing I did, because I'm a little bit of I get overexcited and I really like research and I really like just compiling facts and stuff. So the first thing I did was make a huge book of shadows, which I probably still have on an old PC somewhere. Hundreds of pages long from stuff on the internet of just all kinds of spells that I could ever need. And that was really the first thing I did. And I kind of lost touch with it throughout high school and then came back to it. And here I am now answering questions from all you lovely people. So, yeah, that's all the questions. Oh, that question was from Jack White is my daddy with lines in between. I'm sorry, I'm not very articulate this late. So those are all the questions I got that were pertaining to the subject matter. Oh, yikes. So I guess we'll do more next time. And remember, with each Ask Witch Tips from now on, there's a theme. Questions have to be about the theme. And then always, I welcome personal questions as well. So that's it. Have a good night.